Hello guys, welcome back to the Girl Sisters. Emily here, and today I am going to be taking you through my personal ranking of the Doctor Who Doctors. Now this isn't including doctors such as the War Doctor. I'm just checking my notes to make sure it's not. No. Does not include incarnations like the War Doctor played by Jon Hurt, or the Dream Lord, or any other person that you could count as an incarnation of the Doctor. This video is hopefully going to be all in one take because I am filming this the night it has to go up. So yeah. So on with the video. So at number 13 I have put William Hartnell. Now the reason I put William Hartnell is because he is the Doctor that I've seen the least amount of stuff on. I don't really know. I think it is generally because I've seen hardly any of his stuff. As the first Doctor, he kind of just made it his own, and I feel like it was really important that he set that benchmark of I am the Doctor. The cat just jumped up on the bed. And because I didn't really see much of his stuff, like, I don't know. So I'm going to put him last because he's the Doctor I'm least knowledgeable about. So yeah. Number 12 is I've put as Patrick Troughton. Again, like William Hartnell, I haven't seen a whole lot of his stuff. I've seen a couple of clips, and I really didn't like. I think the clips that I saw, he was quite arrogant, and I just didn't like him really. And it's not that I didn't like Patrick Troughton as in his acting and himself. I just didn't like how, like, his incarnation of the Doctor really. So yeah, that's why he's 12. Number 11 is Colin Baker. Now I've actually met Colin Baker. I don't have the photo to hand. Actually, I'll see if I can find it whilst I'm talking. But I met Colin Baker about 6 years ago now. It was a while ago. And I put him at 11 because, again, I didn't like, I think it was the scene I saw literally just after he regenerates out of Peter Davison, and he literally goes and, like, attacks Perry, and I just think that is the worst way you can introduce a new incarnation of the Doctor. So I'm just trying to scroll through my family's Facebook feed to see if I can find the photo, because I'm going to have to go really far down on my feed if I have any chance of finding him. But yeah, I just did not really like how his character was seen as, like, really like horrible and just arrogant. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. I will keep trying to find this picture of Peter Davison, but I cannot find, not Peter Davison. Found it. So, I mean, I'm in my school uniform, but you can't see the logo. So that is me with Colin Baker. And I didn't realise until after this photo was taken that I have a massive rip right there in my tights. But yeah, I met him in, like, a local coffee shop. It was like it was a set meet and greet. So yeah. So number 10 I've put as Sylvester McCoy. Again, I loved how eccentric he was and how I found him just weird. And I loved that about him and what he brought to the Doctor. Again, I've not seen a whole lot of his stuff because I was born in the era where I was born in those 15 years where Doctor Who was off air. I was born 3 years before the reboot. So I grew up with Modern Who. So I've not really seen a lot of Sylvester's work, but I've seen him in a lot of I saw him in the 5-ish Doctors, I think, and the one that him, Colin Baker and Peter Davison did for the 50th anniversary. I don't know if that was the 5-ish Doctors, I can't remember, but yeah, I like him, but I've not really seen him in a lot of stuff. And that the same can be said for my number 9, which is Peter Davison. I love how at the time, obviously, he was the youngest Doctor, and you know, he had such big shoes to fill, following on from Tom Baker, and I think he made the Doctor, like all of the actors who played him, and actresses, he made it his own, and I loved that he followed on the trend of the Doctor and his food obsession, with his random stick of celery on his Patel. Is that what they call him? The collar bit of a jacket. I don't know if that's called a Patel or not, but the random stick of celery he had, I just loved that, and I loved his outfit. I loved the cricket whites, I think they're called. But yeah. My number 8 is Jon Pertwee. Out of the classic Who, him and Tom Baker are probably the ones I've seen the most of. I loved Jon Pertwee's Doctor's relationship between Sarah Jane and Jodie Grant, who were the two companions played by Katie Garrett. I want to say Katie. I know her first name's Katie, who played Jo Grant. I can't remember her surname. And of course Liz Sladen, who played Sarah Jane. I particularly like the episode where the TARDIS shrinks into so it's that big, and all you can see is the Doctor's face. I'm doubting myself, thinking that that's not a Jon Pertwee episode. I think it is. Or it was either that or the TARDIS vanished or something, and there was just yellow car. I know that was a Jo Grant episode. But yeah. Jon is probably one of my favourite classic Who Doctors, and it's so sad that him alongside William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton are now no longer with us. My number 6 is Peter Capaldi. Now, out of the modern Who, Peter is my least favourite incarnation of the Doctor. I feel I don't know, it's not obviously Peter's fault, because Peter just acted the storylines. I don't really know, and this isn't a dig either at Stephen Moffat. What on earth went wrong in the Bill and Nardole era of 12th's reign as the Doctor? I just did not like really any of the storylines. I feel like when Clara left, because I was one of the very few people at the time who adored Clara, and I still do. And I think Jenna Coleman and Peter Capaldi together were just amazing. I just did not warm to when the actress who played Bill and Matt Lucas, who played Nardole, came in. I don't know why, I just did not warm to it. And I feel like Peter, the 12th Doctor's stories just got stupid, and I just did not like his episodes. But the early episodes I like, Face the Raven is one of my all-time favourite episodes. I love it so much. Oh my god, excuse me. But yeah, so I'm going on the fact that I loved Peter's first series as the Doctor. His second series, not so much. My number 5 is Christopher Eccleston. Now, this was the man who introduced me to Doctor Who, apart from my dad. But Chris his Doctor, the Ninth Doctor, introduced me to Doctor Who. Even though at the time I was 3 when it came on, I still watched it. I remember watching it later on in life, but I knew I watched it when I was really young, which is probably why I was never scared of it. Looking back now, I loved some of Chris's episodes as the Ninth Doctor. The ones with Captain Jack are up there. I loved Dalek, I think it's called, which is not a lot of people's favourites because I know it's quite. Some people find it quite inappropriate or something. I think there's a scene where he tortures a Dalek, I think. Which again, I understand why. It's not a very nice image to put in a lot of young children's heads, because obviously with Doctor Who being away for so long, that episode Dalek was a lot of children's first encounter with a Dalek, and it wasn't a great impression. But in all, I loved Chris's episodes as a Doctor, and he's the one who probably ignited my love for it. So yeah, my number 4 is Jodie Whittaker. I, like many, was very apprehensive of having Jodie as the first female Doctor, and I have to honestly say I just did not like it, and I just did not like her version of the Doctor until her second series. Her second series is just, in my opinion, amazing. Tesla, the episode with Tesla in it, is just, it's now one of my favourite episodes, and the Trag something episode in her first series is my favourite one of her first series, and I love her, how her Doctor gets on with the companions, and I hope we see her for a couple more series to come. My number 3 is Tom Baker. Again, because of his connections with Liz Sladen as Sarah Jane, and the companionship with her, he, alongside with Jon Pertwee, is the Doctor I've seen the most of, and he was my dad's Doctor, so I grew up hearing about how my dad watched Tom Baker when he was a child, and just remember being, even though he wasn't the 4th Doctor in the 50th anniversary, he's the creator, I just remember being so excited, because I'm like, oh my god, that is the 4th Doctor. And yeah, I just remember being so excited, and I remember it was a really big thing for my dad as well. I think he just loved it, because I think, if I remember right, it was the thing they kept quiet, because it was announced, I think, that David and Billy were coming back, and obviously it had been announced that John Hurt was the War Doctor in the series, in the episode before. So I feel like having Tom come back as the curator was one of the best kept secrets, if it was kept secret. Again, it's one of the things I can't really remember, because I was 11 when the 50th anniversary was released. So yeah, I just love Tom, and I really want someone to knit me one of those scarves. I might just knit myself one, but I really want one of those really long scarves. I don't know. My number 2 is Matt Smith. Fun fact, I actually live about half an hour away from where Matt grew up. I live in the same county. I just loved him. I loved literally every single episode that he'd done. And I feel like it's when Stephen Moffat's writing really came into its own. It was the year Matt came in was the year that Stephen took over as executive producer, I think. And I just loved his oh my god, sorry. I just loved his storytelling and his scripts. A couple of my favourites from Matt, The Pandora Cut Opens is one of my absolute favourites. The Weeping Angel storyline with River Song is what made me fall in love with the Weeping Angels. And yeah, I literally can't praise and can't speak enough about how much I love Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor, until I come on to my number one, which is David Tennant. Now, this probably comes as a surprise to absolutely zero of you, because I have had a crush on this man since I was a very young girl, which is probably weird. But David Tennant was the first Doctor I watched. He's the first episodes of Doctor Who I remember watching is Turn Left, Stolen Earth, and Journey's End. That trilogy of episodes, which just made me want to find out about all these different characters. So I went and watched Sarah Jane Adventures because of those 3 episodes. And I'm now Torchwood is back on iPlayer in the UK. I am watching the Torchwood series because I was way too young. My parents, well, my dad would not let me watch Torchwood, and now I am nearly 18, so I'm kind of watching it off my own accord. And I just loved David and his tenure as the Doctor. I was just so sad when he announced that he was leaving. That, like I said, we had an amazing replacement in Matt. I just love David. His Doctor is like he's just bonkers. And Alonzi became like part of my vocabulary for years. I mean, I've not said it for God knows how long, thank Christ. But I just love he has a different friendship with each of the different people that he meets, and he turns out to be, in my opinion, it's like so down to earth and so like so caring. And I just love how he, you know, like he said goodbye to he hated goodbyes, but in his own way said goodbye to each of his companions. I particularly love how they did it in the final episode, End of Time, I think it's called. I'm really bad with episode names. You know, where you know, the very last companion that he meets is Rose before Rose meets the 9th Doctor and begins this bonkers journey of a lifetime. I also love how the 10th Doctor had guts to erase Donna's memory of the Dr. Donna to save her life. And even though that pained him and it was so gut-wrenching for him to do, he knew that it would save her, and she, even though she would now live her life not knowing her past life and all the, I'm going to get choked up, and all the amazing adventures that she had. He knew that she can't live her life like this because it would kill her. But in my mind, it's like, it's what I don't get about the whole paradox thing with Amy and Rory in the 11th Doctor's era. Like, in my mind, the Doctor can just jump in the TARDIS and go back to see Amy and Rory, or see Donna before the Dr. Donna happened, and she can go and see Rose. He can go back and see Rose, not Donna go and see Rose. But but obviously I know there's like rules and logic that has been thought out about this. But yeah, so that brings me to the end of this video. So if I was speaking really fast, I just naturally speak like that. So yeah, so hopefully me and Hannah, because I'm filming this video on my home, I'm in my home. I'm filming this on my own because Hannah filmed her baking video last week, basically on her own, and I was just a camera girl, I wasn't in the video. So yeah, so hopefully we will be back together next week filming another video for you guys, but until then, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out our other videos on the channel. See you next week, guys. Bye.